Alright, I'm hoping to the dear lords above that this works, but I have started recording on my computer. Something I've tried once and it's never worked. Like, in the history of doing it, I tried doing a Team Fortress 2 video, never worked. I mean, that was because I did use my face cam and I had to try and capture audio and it never came through. I think this might work. I need to be sure. But, anyways, I thought we'd have a bit of a different video today. I feel like doing it. I'm going to use this tier list that is on Google to rank all of the Bond films, in my personal opinion. That being said, there's a few I can recognise through the posters, and the other ones, I mean, like, the names are cut off, and I don't know the posters that well, but I know the films. So if I see it, I'll make sure to give a shout where I don't know what I'm looking at, but I know the film anyways. Let's get into it. Keep in mind this list will be completely biased to me. I would like to keep it unbiased, but it's my personal favourites. So I know there's a lot of hated films, but it seems the hated films are some of the films that I like. I think you already know where this is going. Right. Let's get into it. Sorry for the dodgy camera angle, by the way. I really have no room here, and my face cam on top of my computer is being covered up by this ring light because it gets really, really dark in here. Anyways, let's get into it. So, the first one, I believe, that is View to a Kill. That was the second Bond film I ever watched, and I actually, contrary to popular belief about the film, I liked it. This is one of them ones where not many people like it, but I thought it was entertaining. It kept me gripped the whole way through, and only after I watched the film did I find out that it was the last one, and there was a lot of stunt doubles that were noticeable for Roger Moore because he was old. But, you know, to be fair, I actually found it pretty enjoyable. And I know that some people might do, but, you know, not a lot of people do, so I'm going to stick that in the great tier. Just there. Alright. Hopefully that's not too controversial just yet. Anyways, up next we've got Casino Royale. If I'm comparing it to the book, which I have, I've got the first 4 books. I'm collecting the series, so I won't go into book detail later. It's more accurate than the original Casino Royale, which was like 1967, something like that, with David Niven. I didn't find it that bad, actually. I thought that Casino Royale was going to be, it's a Daniel Craig Bond film. And, you know, I don't particularly like the Craig Bond films, nor do I like Craig as Bond, but to be fair, it was an alright start. It was, obviously, I watched the Craig ones in order, so seeing that first, I think that was a highlight, up until Skyfall, obviously. But I think Casino Royale and Skyfall are really the better ones in the series of Craig films, whereas the one that come after, Quantum of Solace, will be seeing the bottom of the list. I wish I could actually make a tier for Quantum of Solace. I can't make a tier. It would be nice, though. But anyways, Casino Royale, I'm going to put it in good. I thought it was good, but I think View to a Kill I remember more, in my opinion. I think all the modern Bond films don't feel like Bond films, whereas the older ones had really big villains. And I know Casino Royale, even in the book, the villain, he's some French guy, and in the book he's described as having glasses, bowler hat, quite intelligent, but he's not much for muscle. In the film, kind of adds up. He's not very brave, or he's not very big. He's not a big strong guy, or not a, like, if I was to compare him to View to a Kill, and View to a Kill, you have Zorin, who is some insane blonde Nazi experiment who wants to use microchips to blow everything up and whatnot. Casino Royale, you have Le Chiffre, if that's how you pronounce his name, and all he wants to do is win big, get money, and sell or give money to the terrorists so they could get weapons, something. But you know, it was a nice one. It was a good one. I believe that's Diamonds Are Forever. I can't see properly. I think Diamonds Are Forever. My only highlight was Charles Gray. I thought he was pretty funny. Other than that, it was pretty meh. I might put it in the meh pile. Diamonds Are Forever. obviously you just had Lazenby's only Bond film, and that film was okay in my mind. It was not okay at the time, but people have been seeing it for what it is now. To follow it up with Connery again and Diamonds Are Forever, it was. I mean, even the book, I haven't read it yet, but I've heard that the book is quite slow, miserable, all about the diamond smuggling in Las Vegas. But I think my only highlights of Diamonds Are Forever, the film, is Charles Gray and. Oh, sorry, I noticed the coaster fell. Charles Gray and the Mustang chase. I like that bit. I like the Mustang used. I've got a model of it up there, which I might. I mean, recording this now, I haven't actually recorded anything before, but I might do a little bit of an intro before this, showing a few of them. But there we are. Diamonds Are Forever goes in Mare. It's the first in the Mare pile. Anyways, next up is Die Another Day. It's going to be okay for me. I don't mind Die Another Day. I could watch it over and over. I don't like the song used. I'm not particularly a big fan of Madonna either. Villain's alright. But I think the thing that gets me with Die Another Day is the awful use of CGI, which I've expressed in another video on my channel. And probably the cutting, editing, and some slow motions. Like, for example, when there's the car chase, which I might show, it goes out to the ice on this big frozen lake, and it's like it zooms really quickly, and then there's some slowness, and then there's that in another scene. It's like really funny choice of editing. But then to contrast that to Casino Royale, which was the next Bond film, that started Daniel Craig, you can see how much of a dodgy impact Die Another Day had. I can't identify what that is. Hang on. I have a feeling. Yeah, it is. That's what I thought it was. Dr. No. Okay, Dr. No's next, I think. Yeah, you can't really see because there's nothing written on there to say it's Dr. No, but I've just looked through all the other ones. I'm not aware of the posters that well. I can't see anything Dr. No on any of the other posters, so I'm pretty assured that this is Dr. No. Yeah, it is. Alright, so let's get into it. Dr. No, I'm going to put in okay. I feel that it's a good start to the series, don't get me wrong, and to be fair, it holds up to today. And there's this atmosphere to it. It's dark, it's kind of scary actually. And you're thinking for this whole story, who is Dr. No? Because the story's called Dr. No, but he's never really revealed until like the last 15 minutes of the film. And that is a really good scene. That is probably the highlight of the film, when he sits at the table, get Bond on one side, and they're in this back and forward conversation. You see, I don't have Dr. No as the book yet, so I don't know if that's particularly accurate to the book with his reveal coming in late, but I think that's really where it peaks in the film. Other than that, it's just a series of silence and dreary, dark atmosphere. I like the bit with the dragon tank as well. I thought that was pretty scary, which was good in a good way. But yeah, I put it in okay. It's not Diamonds Are Forever Mare level. I can't see what that is. I could have probably used a better one, but I haven't. I have a feeling that one is For Your Eyes Only. I think so. I think it is. For Your Eyes Only is great. I like it. I'm going to put it in good though. I feel with For Your Eyes Only, because I guess they didn't have much to work with because it was a short story in a short book. I actually enjoyed it. And I know that it had a really bad villain, not a memorable one. It had some really gritty bits, like when Bond pushes Locke off a cliff in his car, or the whole car chase with the Citroen 2CV was funny, so I enjoyed that. I like the music in that bit. I've actually used it in quite a few of my videos. But to be fair, I don't think it I don't think it's as fun as View to a Kill. View to a Kill is currently the top at the moment, but For Your Eyes Only, yeah, it was all. It was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. All right. Next one is From Russia with Love. Straight to the awesome tier. When I first watched From Russia with Love, I actually didn't. It was all right. It was all right in my mind. It wasn't the best. It was all right. But now, looking back at it after watching every film, I think it's the closest to a spy thriller. It takes a lot from North by Northwest, I think it is, the Alfred Hitchcock film. There's a few bits of it in there. But I like it. There's the whole train sequence at the end. There's the introduction to Spectre. There's what else? I think Rosa Kleb's good, but I prefer Red Grant of all, the original henchman. And there's this whole bit in the middle. There's a massive shootout at this sort of fort castle. I like that bit, and there's a lot going on there. Other than that, there's not much I could talk about the film, but I just think it was great. I could equally say that about View to a Kill, but just for I don't want anyone stabbing me in the face with a pitchfork, so I'm going to go awesome From Russia with Love. Alright, next is Goldeneye. I think you know why that's up there. Non-biased towards the game. The game is something else, and by something else, I mean the game is on the balance between shit and good. Goldeneye, on the other hand, is a great film. I think that really gets the tone right, and obviously it's not based off the novels. So 006 and 007 facing off against each other, that was a pretty good idea, and I like the whole tank sequence in the film. I like that. I know I showed that in my Goldeneye playthrough, but I think Goldeneye is probably the best of the Brosnan films, and the introduction to a new Bond, the fact it's the introduction to a new era of Bond after License to Kill, which got some backlash, but I actually enjoyed License to Kill. We get to that later. I think on the same line as From Russia with Love, I think Goldeneye is a bit more extreme. It's not so much a deep spy thriller like From Russia with Love. It's more of an explosive action spy thriller. But even then, it's bloody brilliant. And then there's a lot of good villains in there. You get Trevelyan, you get Onatop, you get Oramov in there, and I think it's a really good film. All right, what's next? I think another awesome one goes on to the Mount Rushmore of all, Goldfinger. I mean, how can you not put this in awesome? I think that's probably the most fun Bond film. I know View to a Kill was fun, because that's where we're going off now. Goldfinger is the stereotype of a fun Bond film. You had a good villain, you had a good henchman. Bloody Oddjob terrifies me, by the way. I had a nightmare about him the other day. I had a nightmare that Oddjob was chasing me around a Victorian-era cafe, trying to punch me by throwing tables. It was a bizarre story. But when I watched Goldfinger, I went into it knowing this is the good one. This is what everyone talks about, and I went out of it saying, "Yeah, I can see why. It's a good film. I can see it's a must watch. Even if you just want to watch maybe one or two Bond films to experience it, go for Goldfinger first. That is something you want to watch." All right, that's License to Kill now. I think I might stick it in the great category with View to a Kill. Not many people like License to Kill. Well, liked it back in the old times. But I personally didn't mind it. Saying that, it sounds like I would have put it in there. I like the villain, especially since I recognised who the villain was. I mean, don't ask why. It's through the Goonies of all things. It's actually the first Dalton film I watched. I didn't watch the films in order, but it was the first one I watched of Dalton's, and it's the better one. I know he wanted to keep it to the books, keep the character realistic and how it is in the books, and I think he handled it well there more than he did in The Living Daylights. It's the goriest and darkest Bond film, and I think that's what holds it higher than the others, like Casino Royale, Diamonds Are Forever. It's a overall brilliant Bond film. We're only halfway through, and I am going to stop right now, just so then I can save my recording. So I'll be back momentarily. Okay, we're back. I just had a brief moment there. I was trying to figure everything out. Again, I'm still new to recording this, so don't worry. Anyways, let's get back into it with Live and Let Die next. And with Live and Let Die, I'm going to stick that in the good territory. And there's a few people that don't like this one. It introduced Roger Moore, and I think compared to the book, the film did way better. Like in the book, you have same characters. You have Kananga in there, and he's really good in the book. I think the casting in the film, accurate beyond anything. But in the book, it's all about pirate gold, whereas in the film, you get really into the depths of this is an American crime lord. This is his private island. Deal with it. I prefer that over how it's described in the book with the pirate gold and the voodoo in there. But in the film, I think it's a film that embraces supernatural stuff. Different to the other films. All the other films are sort of realistic, but Live and Let Die isn't particularly realistic when it comes to voodoo. I mean, I don't know what you believe in, but I think that it's a breath of fresh air from the other films. It feels different. It feels like it's in its own league. Also, the introduction of Sheriff Pepper in that film, even though he was in Live and Let Die and the Man with the Golden Gun. I watched The Man with the Golden Gun first, so I had no idea what my dad was saying when he was in Live and Let Die. So I was like, okay, I'm keen to see this. When he showed up in that boat chase, best part of the film, right there, the boat chase, bam. What was it, like 11 minutes? An 11-minute boat chase. Loads of stunts. You had the police up in there. Once again, I've got a few models on my shelf over there. I might show at the start of the video. But yeah, Live and Let Die, good. All right, I easily identify what that is. That's Moonraker right there. That was the first Bond film I watched. I said View to a Kill was my second. I watched Moonraker way before I started watching these films, so it's the one I have the vaguest memory of. But I'm gonna stick it in. I might get some backlash. I might get some praise for putting it there. Moonraker for me, when I watched it, it was just Bond in space, and I remember a few things about it. Like I remember the cable car scene. I remember Jaws. All right. Sorry, that's my mum. I remember Jaws getting a girlfriend. But other than that, I like the villain. I love the villain. Drax is good. But now that I know that it was put in space because of Star Wars that had come out, and now that I read the book is 10 times better than the film. Like, the book is basically the story of GoldenEye. You have Drax, who is this ginger bloke who was like an ex-Nazi who has changed to this British man. He's renowned in the metal industry, and he's built this Moonraker missile that is being sent over to London, and it's going to blow London up. It's sort of a Third Reich thing. That's just my easiest way of explaining it. That's like 10 times better than the film, because in the film he just wanted to launch a shuttle to space and populate space with his children. But yeah, Moonraker was a fun film. It was a fun film. Jaws becoming good, I guess, was good for children watching it at the time. But, you know, I guess he had all his creepy moments in The Spy Who Loved Me, but we'll get to that when that's coming up, which I believe that is... Where is it? Yeah, it's that colourful one, Between the World Is Not Enough and The Man with the Golden Gun there. But anyways, on to the next one. Oh. Do I even need to say why? There's Thunderball, and there's Never Say Never Again. Which one do you think told the story better? Never Say Never Again. When you find out that it was made over a load of legal drama between Eon Productions, who produced all the Bond films up to that point, and this dude named Kevin McClory, you realise that this Kevin man is not a nice man, and he wanted to. He had the rights to the Thunderball story because Fleming had jotted a lot of ideas down from this basis around Thunderball and shoved it all in a book and published it as his own. And that's why he has the rights. So he makes his own version, but Thunderball's already been made. Thunderball was just after Goldfinger. Never Say Never Again was like the 70s. But yeah, it's just a really bad retelling, and it's meant to be more comedic. I know they have Rowan Atkinson in there somewhere. Personally, don't mind that. It's funny as it is. But it's not right. It's not a good film. If there was one Bond film, I mean, you can't even really class it as a Bond film, to recommend not to watch, it's that one. Anyways, now to the latest Bond film, No Time to Die. I'm going to put it in there. And I know a lot of people like No Time to Die. I really didn't. I think it's the longest one. I liked the pre-title sequence. That's really all I can say about it. What was it, like 20 minutes worth of action, and you see the DB5 back in action, but when you get to the villain, you find out the villain plot. I know there's a lot of references, like there's a Garden of Death in there. That's a reference to the book version of You Only Live Twice. People thought that Safin, the villain, was going to be Dr. No because of the designs in his base and because of the mask he wears at the start of the film. But other than that, there's not much to enjoy about it. You get the death of Blofeld in it, which wasn't really done well at all. And there's really no connections, if you think about it, because I don't like when they do villains again, because you had his death in For Your Eyes Only, and that was the end of it, because he hadn't really died in anything else. He appeared in You Only Live Twice. Got away with it. Then it was Majesty's, broke his neck, which should have been the other way around actually, in terms of book order. And then For Your Eyes Only, dumped him down a chimney, died, and then all of a sudden he's back in Spectre, No Time to Die. So I know there's a bit of a different storyline and thing there, but okay, we're back. I've put Octopussy in okay. We've had a load of problems with this so far. I don't know why there's a load of problems with this, but we put Octopussy in okay. I enjoyed the film, but as it says in the title, it's a sweet distraction. It's like, I like the chase in India on the tuk-tuks, and I like the train sequence at the end. There's a big train sequence, that's really good. Better than the intro to Skyfall by a country mile. Other than that, there's not much that's memorable about the film. That's why I'm sticking it in okay. What's next? I believe that's Majesty's Secret Service. I'm going to stick that in great. Majesty's Secret Service. It's Lazenby's only film, but I think he wasn't an actor, but I think he did pretty good. And obviously he kicked it. He stopped the Bond films. He didn't want to be in anymore, so he left that up to Connery and Diamonds Are Forever. But I think the story, because Majesty's is such a good story, and apparently it's one of the really good books. I think it has a good cast. I like that it's set in the snow. I like the sets. I like the ending. The ending, I don't want to say any spoilers in case you haven't watched it and you want to. The ending, bloody brilliant. Probably the best ending of all the Bond films. Not a climax ending, it's more of an ending, end of the film. I think the only moment that isn't appealing for the film is the fourth wall break at the beginning. Was it necessary? No. Why is it there? I don't know. Quantum of Solace, bad. I hate the film. End of. Honestly, they have such a rubbish villain in it. Like, if you get Bond films, right, you need, in a Bond film, the two big things: you need a good Bond, you need a good villain. You need them to go together and have a big old fight about something that's going to change the world or whatnot. and then they're gonna end the film and the villain's gonna die and then that's it. In this film, you have a rubbish villain who, honestly, I have a drawing book and I drew the villain down in there, and it was even drawing him, it was so boring. It was nothing big, pizzazz, nothing exciting about him drawing the villain, but it's just a film with many holes in. Really, really bad. Like the theme song for it, the gun barrel being at the end, going into the title, the name of the film, even the short book version. It's in I think it's Octopus in the Living Daylights. Comes Quantum of Solace as a short story. The worst of the lot. It is the worst. Why would you want to make it into a film? You could make such a better film, and you make that. That is a disaster to cinema, and it is a disgrace to the series. Goodbye, Quantum of Solace. Skyfall. I'm going to stick Skyfall in great. I didn't enjoy it as much as the top 3 that I've got in awesome so far, but with Skyfall, I know it's a bit overrated, isn't it? I like the theme to it. I like the villain's really good. Like, it's the same guy from No Country for Old Men. He plays villains really good. The motive for the villain as well, with M and that, having a big involvement in the film. That was a good move, and I know obviously that's not even based on a book either. Most of the newer ones aren't, because they've run out of books to base them on, or stories to base them on. But still, Skyfall's one of them Bond films. It's just it's a top-notch one, and I think this, Skyfall and Casino Royale, were the better ones in the Craig series, whereas you get Spectre, Quantum of Solace, and No Time to Die, which are like the 3 weaker ones, are the only other weaker ones. Other than that, Skyfall was alright. I just didn't enjoy it as much as the top 3 there, so I have to put it in great. Spectre, bad. Right, here's a little anecdote. When I was watching Spectre, I even remember it being advertised as the big film. I remember seeing big posters of the skull that was in the pre-title sequence. I literally, when watching Spectre, I watched about 45 minutes of it, and then I took a break and I said, let's continue this the next day. The next day I watched about half an hour, and I was like, right, can we stop and can we continue later? And then I watched it later, and that was when I finished the film. I had to watch it in 3 goes. It was a long, painful, hard to watch piece of shit of a film. Like, when you have a villain, I mean, you have Christoph Waltz as the villain, you expect him to be really, really good because of Inglourious Basterds, and you get that. Like, that is just a retelling, and it is shit. You can't just make up a story that, the main villain of the Bond series is actually Bond's half-brother. No, that's shit. Anyways, before I lose my marbles onto the Living Daylights, I think the only thing saving the Living Daylights, because I don't remember much from the Living Daylights, is Dalton himself. I think bringing it back to the books. So I'm only going to stick it in Mare. I prefer License to Kill way better. But there's not much saving this one. It's got a shitty villain. I think the highlight for me is either the opening sequence where it introduces him and then he parachutes onto the boat and then we go into the opening sequence, or the ending where you have massive fight on the plane and Necros falls out the back on his boot, and it's a good scene. Other than that, everything in between, it's like saying I'm gonna make a sandwich and you put 2 bits of bread together and say here's the sandwich with nothing in between. That's what this film is like. But that's why it's going in there. I mean, it's not bad by any means. It's just it's Moonraker level. Moonraker's like the saving grace of this pile. Here's another one that I'm going to get many stabs in the face for. The Man with the Golden Gun. It's going in great. Here's my awfully painted golden gun. It's obviously fake. It used to be a black gun, as you can see through some of the paint scratched off there. But this is book accurate, not movie accurate. Movie accurate, it will have to be squarer and you have to disassemble it and then put it back together. But anyways, enough about the gun. Man with the Golden Gun. You have Christopher Lee in there. Christopher Lee. You have the sheriff's back. You have one of the greatest car chases, and you have a stunt only ruined by a little whistle. Not that bad. You have a boat chase. Unlike most, I like the music to it. I don't think it's that bad. And I think overall it's an alright film. I definitely enjoyed it more than Live and Let Die. I thought it's a rubbish film, but it was fun. And I think that's what the Roger Moore films had to be. They had to be fun because they had a comedic character in the role, not serious Connery. So I think it goes in great. It's like My View to a Kill ranking also in great. I think they're both bad films, but they were fun, and that's what made them likeable. Spy Who Loved Me next. I'm going to put that in good. I didn't really get all the hype around it. I know Jaws was in it. The villain was awful. His only feature was webbed hands. That's like saying, oh, I have a really good superpower. It's the ability to shave my head immediately and then have it almost grow back entirely. It's awful. It's like, why? Well, I haven't read the book yet, so I think the book is a bit different. I think they added quite a lot to the story. I like the base. I like the Lotus chase. Other than that, it was a pretty bland film in my opinion. A lot of people like it. It was a good film. I wouldn't say it's great or awesome. I'd say it's good. Speaking of good, stick The World Is Not Enough up there. This is one of the earlier ones. One of the ones like Living Daylights. I remember vaguely. I think it was the first one to have a woman as the villain. If you can argue that, there's two people said to be the villain of the film, but everyone thinks Renard is the henchman, so I'll stick with that pile. Overall, it's not that bad. I like the theme to it. I like the whole kidnap story. There's a couple bits of action in there, like the BMW being sawed in half. I think that was pretty good. But why would you waste a car like that? I mean, even in the model I have, it's being sawed in half on the model. I'm looking at it right now. It's not great. I think I may just prefer... I'm going to skip to it just for a sec. I may prefer Tomorrow Never Dies over it. I'm going to stick that in good. I'm probably going to stick it above World Is Not Enough. I think the only thing saving Tomorrow Never Dies is more of the realism to it, with the news business or the journalism business. You have a really good villain, actually. He was alright. I just found Tomorrow Never Dies more enjoyable, especially with that motorcycle sequence. I think that was pretty good. But equally interchangeable. They're both similar films, but I think none of them can come close to GoldenEye. I think it's looking good for the Brosnan films, though. You got one in awesome, two in good, one in okay. Anyways, next is Thunderball. I'm going to put Thunderball in okay. Definitely better than Never Say Never Again. Not as good as Goldfinger. I think it tried following up to what Goldfinger was, but it was a story about, so it's Spectre again, or as in the books, it'll be Smersh, and they steal these bombs from a jet plane, bury them underground, and they're planning to bomb. I'm not going to use the word nuke because it's not nuclear. Bomb. I think it was Miami in the film. I mean, that's how forgettable their plan was. It's not really explained very well. I like the board meeting. I think that was pretty funny. There's a few staples of the series in there, and I think the problem with this film is, not the problem with me, from Rush with Love, there's an action sequence, the bit I was on about with the fort, that used this music. It's good music, stuck out for the film. Goldfinger, they used it again. Thunderball, they used it again. That time it was in the underwater fight scenes, which was slow and hard to watch. I sat there like this, thinking, come on, when's this over? And then there was a bit towards the end where you have Largo in his boat and he's trying to make his grand escape in his boat, and you have Bond in there, and there's this very, very dodgy editing put together with the fight sequence, which was a bit naff. But, you know, it worked, and to be fair, the film was alright. It's better than Never Say Never Again. Anyways, lastly, we have You Only Live Twice. I found with You Only Live Twice, I'm going to put it in okay with Thunderball, probably above Thunderball. Stick it below. I only really enjoyed You Only Live Twice when it got to the volcano base. Everything else that came before it was exceedingly slow and boring. He's in Japan. It's meant to be colourful, it's meant to be exciting. But up until the part where he turns into some Japanese fisherman, which was funny, and then goes to the volcano base, and then becomes a spaceman, and then gets caught, and you see Donald Pleasance staring at your soul. I think that was where the film started, getting a bit exciting, but everything else before it was so slow. It was kind of a dread to watch. I'm actually pretty annoyed right now on ITVX. They put the Bond collection on there, and they had all the films on there ages ago. But since they take some off, put some on, and they've took off all of the really, really good ones, and they've left on Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, and the original Casino Royale, which isn't on this list. That is the 1967 one with David Niven that I may have mentioned earlier in the video. It's like, why? Of all the films, you could stick... I mean, they had Dr. No and From Russia with Love on there, which I wasn't arguing with. I rewatched them happily. Goldfinger hasn't made an appearance. I thought they were doing it in order. I saw Dr. No, From Russia with Love, and I thought, next one's going to be Goldfinger, Thunderball. But anyways, that's my list. Hopefully this is all recorded, and if so, you'll be seeing this video. So, stay tuned for the next one. So long, boyos. I'm never going to do that again. I don't know why I said that. Anyways, see ya.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to.
Subscribe, ding-a-ling-a-ling.